It's an honor for me to present this year's Courage Award to Tom Brokaw. Tom?
Thank you all very much. This is a very meaningful evening for me, personally and professionally, because I've just come from New Hampshire. And the difference between this occasion and what I've been finding on the presidential primary trail this year is that this is a room filled with hope. This is a room that so believes that we can work together across party lines to solve the problems that affect every family in America. And that is the essence of who we are. After all, this is an immigrant nation. We've all come from somewhere else. We have a variety of opinions about almost everything, from politics to sports to music. But at the end of the day, we all take great pride in the fact that we're American citizens. And whatever the issue, that binds us in a way that we need to keep in mind. I'll give you just a short summary of my own experience with cancer, which it turns out has been in many ways the most instructive experience of my life. I've been a lucky guy. I grew up in a really working class family in South Dakota, found my way to the top of my profession, married a woman that I met when I was 15, and she was absolutely the most stunning woman in South Dakota, but we were great friends, but we didn't really become boyfriend and girlfriend for two very fundamental reasons. She thought I fooled around too much. I thought she didn't fool around enough. But we worked that out by the time we were in our early 20s. And when I was diagnosed with cancer in 2013, I had lived an unbroken, very lucky life. I'd been able to travel the world. I have this fabulous family. I had everything that I could possibly want. My eldest daughter is an emergency room physician and has worked in Pakistan and Africa and around the world. Would often say to me, you know, Dad, nothing is really going wrong in our family. I wonder if we could handle it. And I would kind of blow by that. And then I had that put to a test when I was diagnosed. And here are the fundamental things that I've learned about having cancer. If you have cancer, the whole family's involved, not just the individual patient. Everybody in the family gets cancer to one degree or another. If you don't have cancer, you can be sympathetic. You cannot be empathetic until you have someone in your family who does have cancer. And when you get diagnosed with cancer, you're entering an extraordinarily mysterious universe for most people. What is this thing that's in my body that's turning on me? And one of the advantages that I had was that I was a reporter. So I kept asking the tough questions and trying to find out more about it, and I had Jennifer at my side as well. So we were able to work our way through it in a way that a lot of other families had not. And then because I've had good fortune in my professional career, working for Comcast and Universal, having a very good health care plan, I was able to deal with the enormous costs of dealing with cancer. I was also a member of the Mayo Clinic Board of Directors. That helped me. But I constantly thought about what I described as my kind of other figure in life. A man who lived maybe in Wichita, Kansas, 48 years old, gone to a community college, came out, worked in a gas station, then started his own service station. Then another one, then had a convenience store, maybe two convenience stores. He's living the American dream. And he gets multiple myeloma or other forms of cancer. He has a modest health care plan. He's 48, he's not eligible for Medicare Part D at this point. What does he do? What happens to his family? And that goes on every day in multiples that we cannot yet imagine. And so for all of you who are here tonight, you are, in a way, his team, not just for him, but for his children as well. And when I walk through the corridors of the Mayo Clinic, or Sloan Kettering, or Dana-Farber, I'd be a little anxious until I would see in the corridor a young family with a child, bald because the hair had been removed through radiation or other treatments. Couldn't always tell if it was a little boy or a little girl. I have 3 daughters and I have 5 grandchildren. And it would be a very, very emotional experience for me because I wanted to trade places with that child. I wanted to say to the parents, let me be the cancer victim. Let you have that child for the rest of your life. And what you do at Tracy's Kids is give those families hope and those children hope. And there is no greater obligation that we have to one another to do just that. So I congratulate all of you for being here tonight. And before I make the presentation that I want to, I'm just going to share with you one of the amusing anecdotes, because there are also those along the way. In the fall of 2013, I'd been diagnosed for about 3 months at that point. Multiple myeloma affects your bones. I had cancer damage in my spine. I had a hole in my pelvis. I had a lot of bone damage, and I was having a hard time getting around, and I wasn't telling anybody about it because I didn't want to end up on the internet, Tom Brokaw, cancer victim. It's tough enough just how I show up on the internet right now without being added. So every day I would force myself to get out of the apartment in New York. We had a snowy, sleety fall in 2013, and I was kind of doubled over, and I would force myself to walk a half a block to a coffee shop to get a muffin in the morning and a cup of coffee and walk back just to prove to myself that I was still mobile. And on the way to the coffee shop, there was a bus stop. And at the end of the bus stop, there was this enormous poster of Tom Brady in all of his Tom Brady-ness. He was advertising UGG boots staring down 79th Street. And all the little old ladies waiting for the bus were kind of swooning and mooning over Tom Brady. I would get up to him, right beside him, as he stared down the street, turn to him, and drop the F-bomb on him. That was an important part of my therapy. I was able to go on, get my bagel, go back, and feel better about who I was. Cancer is a reality of life. Sooner or later, it affects every family. It's the body's war on itself. But we are about to enter an extraordinary new phase. I really believe that we're on the cusp of the golden age, that immunotherapy, monoclonal immunotherapy, in which we use the body to attack cancer, will give our people who follow us, our successors, much greater hope than we have. But in the meantime, we have hope as well here in Washington, D.C. And I want to honor tonight a Republican congressman from Michigan, Fred Upton, who worked in the Reagan administration. He has dedicated his career to doing important things for all of us in the field of health research and food safety. And also Diana DeGette, who is a Democrat from Colorado. And her passions match Fred's. She wants to do best for the American people. They both serve in Congress. They are the kinds of people who come to Washington because they want to make life better for all of us. And that's the continuum of American life and American politics. And so it's my great, great pleasure now to introduce to you Congressman Upton and Congressman DeGette.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Love your story. So I wasn't in New Hampshire, but this is huge. Huge. You know what? Republicans and Democrats ought to be able to get together a lot better. And this is a bill that expedites the approval of drugs and devices. So not only are we going to lower the cost of drugs and devices, but we're going to find the cures for everyone like you and just like those kids everywhere that we've seen too. And it was a testament to our committee and our staff to put together a bill 51-0 in the committee, 344 votes in the House, and the two of us traveled all across the nation. In fact, I was in Ann Arbor with Debbie Dingle on Friday, but Diana was in Denver, and I was in Denver with her, and she was in Kalamazoo with me, but we've been all over the country. But you know what? It's going to happen, and it's going to be happening because of people like you and this little guy, and Natasha, who was on my elevator coming up, who's got NIH treatment tomorrow. But we got to do this. We're a country that ought to be able to do this, and it's going to happen, and we're very excited about our prospects.
Thank you. Well, let me just add, Tom, some of us in Denver spent much of the season saying that same word to Tom Brady that you were saying.
Now, Diana knows me well enough that it could have been just my initials.
But it all turned out okay for us, and Fred and I know that it's going to turn out okay for our bill, 21st Century Cures. It's because of the kids, like the kids at Tracy's Kids. It's because of the families who are working so hard to have a normal life despite all of this. And when you think of all the challenges that you faced with your diagnosis, and think of those little kids who are just trying to have a normal life. So this is why we say all the time, it's not about being a Democrat or a Republican. It's about being an American, and we're so happy that we were able to pass this through the House, and now we're working very hard, both with the White House and also with the Senate, to make sure we get this passed into law before the election season gets much crazier than it already is. Thank you so much for this great award.
Thank you, you two, a wonderful representative of the Congress of the United States, and we hope that the passage of this bill, the 21st century, it's called the Cures Initiative. 21st Century Cures Initiative. All of you have to be aware of that because it's sitting in the Senate where they take themselves far more seriously, as Pat Leahy will tell you. But this is, in fact, a very important bill that needs to be passed. I will leave you with one small story about children and cancer. When I was diagnosed in our family, it was kind of a stunning development because we'd all been able to do whatever we wanted to do when we wanted to do it. I have 2 grandchildren who live in New York as well. They live on the West Side. We call them the hooligans. They're typical New Yorkers. You know, they know the best dim sum places on Sunday morning. They know how to get through Central Park faster than I do. And they're a little bit rowdy. That's why we call them the hooligans. So about a month into my diagnosis, they came to our house, and they were in their typical overheated behavior mode. Very loud, running around a lot, and I was not having a good day. So I sat them down, and I tried to explain to them the meaning of the word decibels. This is how we measure sound, I said, decibels. So we have to think about decibels and how we dial down the decibels. And I could see that they were absorbing all this. And the next week they came in very quietly, came to my bedside and said, they all call me Tom because they saw me on television first. A little unusual for a grandfather. We'd be in a restaurant and these little tots say, Tom, I'd like to order the... Anyhow, they looked at me very solemnly and said, Tom, we're here to visit, and we're here to keep the decibels down. So thank you all very much.